everybody, it's Laura from Lawrence Branch, and you can see I'm out in my garden. And who doesn't love Professor Sprout from Harry Potter? She's part of the inspiration for this craft that I did today. And these are painted river rocks. I used acrylic paint and a sealer coat, and they're just about finished. They're still drying. But the theme for them, which you see I've got little messages on the bottom, those messages are empathy, kindness, persistence, peace, compassion, and tolerance. And I got those messages out of children's literature, specifically Todd Parr, picture book author, and Dave Pilkey, and of course Professor Sprout from Harry Potter. I'm going to read this to you a little bit later, but let me just give you the idea of it right now. Embrace nature more. Keep an open mind. Throw out that hairbrush. Channel your inner Hufflepuff with these top tips inspired by the head of the house. And the article is called How to Live Like Professor Sprout, and it's from Wizarding World website. We can learn a lot from Professor Pomona Sprout, resident herbology whiz and head of Hufflepuff House. A truly eccentric inspiration. Here's just a few tips inspired by the lady herself on how we can live our lives in a more sprouty way. So I'll read that to you later. But I wanted to show you how that message partially inspired this craft and some bookmarks that I made for my garden. I often come out here to read. So for the Professor Sprout part, I thought I would make a bookmark that was inspired by these dried leaves. And if you watch my other YouTube video on Frida Kahlo, I did use these for that, and they came from my yard. I dried them for 2 weeks in thick books. I pressed them in wax paper. So to paint them, to decorate them, I used these solid tempera paints. You've seen me use these before. These belong to the library. I have a few of them at home with me right now. And they're very, it's a very interesting, clean way of painting. It's terrific with kids because they don't make a mess. So what I did was, after drying my leaves, I painted them with the tempera paint. And then I gave them a clear coat, and I made the bookmark. So all 3 bookmarks are going to look like this. And they started with, just because I happen to have it around, with a pad of this paper, folded the paper in half, glued it together, and in this case I just went online and I got the Herbology word art, and then I used a marker to make it a little darker. So besides that, somewhere down here I have a few more pieces of clip art from Professor Sprout that I'm going to tape on. So for this, I'm going to give you the source that I looked at. It's a quick video that you can watch on painting leaves, and we think of that a lot during the fall, but if you have evergreens like ivy, you can do this all year long. And so I'm going to run this through the laminator when I get back to the library. And why don't I just show you quickly how easy it is to use the solid tempera paint to paint the leaves to get these results. Shall we enjoy a short clip of Professor Sprout repotting mandrakes while I show you how to do this?
Morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning,
Welcome to Greenhouse 3 second years. Now gather round, everyone. Today we're going to repot mandrakes. Who here can tell me the properties of the mandrake root? Yes, Miss Granger.
Mandrake, or mandragora, is used to return those who've been petrified to their original state. It's also quite dangerous. The mandrake's cry is fatal to anyone who hears it.
Excellent. 10 points to Gryffindor. Now, as our mandrakes are still only seedlings, their cries won't kill you yet, but they could knock you out for several hours, which is why I've given each of you a pair of earmuffs for auditory protection. So can you please put them on right away? Quickly. Flaps tight down and watch me closely. You grasp your mandrake firmly. You pull it sharply up out of the pot. Got it? And now you dunk it down into the other pot and pour a little sprinkling of soil to keep him warm. Longbottom's been neglecting his earmuffs.
No, ma'am. He's just fainted.
Yes, well, just leave him there. Right, on we go. Plenty of pots to go around. Grasp your mandrake and pull it up.
And for the Todd Parr tie-in, I went to his website, and he's got a lot of fun things. The heading, I believe, the drop-down menu is fun. And if you click on the one that has the picture of the elephant, the caption is "Peace is saying you're sorry when you hurt someone." And there's 2 pages to that document, and you'll get to this. Peace is learning a new language. And so I printed this out, and then I shrunk it just a little bit to make it fit my bookmark. I used my solid Tupper paints to colorize them, cut them out, and I glued them on. And this one's very simple. And I love Todd Parr's books. They always seem to be an easy add-on to story time. The kids love them. They're bright, they're vibrant. And again, it tied in with my theme: empathy, kindness, persistence, peace, compassion, tolerance. At the back of Todd Parr's books, I wish I had a pile of them here to show you right now. He always has a message just like this. So I recommend that you check them out from the library or electronically if you ever get the chance from our virtual branch. And so again, with that theme, empathy, kindness, persistence, peace, compassion, tolerance, some of these came from Dave Pilkey, particularly the empathy, the kindness, and the persistence. And so I folded another one of those sheets of paper, glued it, and I got some clip art from Dave Pilkey's website, and I started coloring it. And then I went through magazines and kind of clipped out some things that I think, what superpowers do I glean from reading? And these are some of the things: real, vibrant, best, imagine, praise, I did it, super. You could easily make this. And did you know that if you are on the library's catalog, nowadays it defaults to the results in our digital catalog. And so I put in Dave Pilkey and I got 30 results, and I sorted them so that the new ones would come up first. And here's Fetch 22, and you can look at a preview. And also, let me click on this. And here in the description, this is where I got that information with the themes. Dave Pilkey's wildly popular Dogman series appeals to readers of all ages and explores universally positive themes, including empathy, kindness, persistence, and the importance of being true to oneself. If I click on preview here, here's a little bit of, that artwork that we love. The chapters, these are always hilarious. I love the chapters and the play on words that he always uses. So this is just a little side thing that I wanted to show you, just so that you know that you can get previews of these electronic books before you borrow them. next, I would like to read you the rest of this article on Professor Sprout. We are in the woods, the forest. Let's pretend we're in the Forbidden Forest, not quite Scotland. It's Groveville. Let me read you the first part. Embrace nature more. As the herbology professor at Hogwarts, Professor Sprout naturally had an affinity with the magical side of flora and fauna. The concept of magical gardening may not be as initially grabbing as, say, Defense Against the Dark Arts, but we quickly realized how deeply important the lesson was. Without herbology, the victims of the Basilisk and Chamber of Secrets wouldn't have had the help of mandrakes to restore them to health. Without herbology, and a little help from Dobby, Harry wouldn't have been able to use gillyweed to help him succeed in the Triwizard Tournament. The power of plants, be they magical or otherwise, is something Professor Sprout knew how to utilize well, and something Neville Longbottom quickly realized he had a talent for too. Even at the Battle of Hogwarts, Sprout suggested using exploding Snorgolith pods to cause havoc rather than the more traditional hexes or curses, and it worked to great effect. After all, what's a greater force than the force of nature? Let's continue. Champion an open mind. As head of Hufflepuff, Professor Sprout exemplified the house's traits of compassion and tolerance. While the other Hogwarts houses favored intelligence, bravery, and determination, Hufflepuff House simply welcomed everyone, as long as they worked hard and were loyal. Professor Sprout is the physical embodiment of these traits, and gave us that wonderful quote about Hogwarts schools staying open to all after Dumbledore's death. Championing education and inclusion just makes the world a better place in general, really, and we should follow Sprout's example as best we can. And here's that quote that goes with that last section. I am sure Dumbledore would have wanted the school to remain open, said Professor Sprout. I feel that if a single pupil wants to come, then the school ought to remain open for that pupil. Next, lead with kindness. Despite a no-nonsense attitude in the greenhouses, Professor Sprout was fierce but also fiercely positive. Her encouragement of Neville in particular led to the once nervous student excelling in her subject. Maybe if Snape had been a little nicer in potions, Neville would have done better there too. Not that Professor Sprout was a pushover, she would still tell the class off for dawdling, and as we mentioned, an instrumental force at the Battle of Hogwarts. So just remember, you can still be compassionate and kind without having anyone walk over you. Next, no need to conform. Known for her flyaway hair and eccentric personality, Professor Sprout was always unabashedly herself. And so she should be. Who's got time to brush hair when there are life-saving mandrakes to be taken care of? If you want to pop on a battered hat, embrace dirty fingernails, and just focus on your passion in life, then do exactly that. Or, if you want to wear a slightly nicer hat, do that thing too. Nothing should be off the table. Just be like Sprout and be yourself. Who cares what anyone else thinks? If you do over-worry, maybe now is the time to turn over a new leaf. After all, Professor Sprout loves leaves. Next, plant seeds of hope. You realize, of course, that nothing we do will be able to keep out you-know-who indefinitely, squeaked Flitwick. But we can hold him up, said Professor Sprout. Thank you, Pomona, said Professor McGonagall, and between the two witches there passed a look of grim understanding. That was from Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Sprout knew better than to simply follow instructions and keep her head down. During Voldemort's ascent, Professor Sprout was fearless, along with her fellow professors, and made sure that the castle was defended at all costs in her own unique way. Sprout was smart at the Battle of Hogwarts, using her knowledge of plants to gain an advantage in the fight. We're not asking you to throw Devil's Snare at anybody, but be inspired by Sprout's off-kilter ways of thinking about things, rather than leaping for the obvious solution. Sometimes there are other ways to make a difference. After all, Pomona Sprout was one of a kind, and so are you.